Good evening. It is Monday, May 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Susan Tully Lively Boardroom of the 1887 building. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Tylock, will you call roll, please?
Mr. Andre.
Here.
Mr. Gayhart.
Here.
Mr. Gatton.
Here.
Mrs. Ingersoll.
Here.
We'll note that Mr. O'Donnell is excused. Mrs. Reckles.
Here.
Mr. Scarrow.
Here.
Ms. Colton and Ms. Williams are both excused, representing us on the soccer field tonight.
We do have a quorum, so is there any community participation tonight? Mr. Tylock, did you have any?
I did have an email that was submitted that they wanted to be read into the record for community participation from a Mr. Paul Vacher, who's a community member. He said on March 3rd, 2023, it's reported that 4 freshman girls entered the locker room of Sun Prairie East High School to rinse off after the first hour of PE class. As they began to shower, an 18-year-old male student entered the shower area and said to the girls, I'm in quotes, I'm trans, by the way, undressed and exposed himself to them. It's not clear whether the incident in Sun Prairie was in violation of the district's bathroom policy, but as a citizen of Elkhorn, I wonder if the current bathroom policy at EASD would prevent such harassment. What protections do we have in place to protect girls from being exposed to males or have their own making us exposed while simply trying to change a bathe? What reporting procedures are in place for girls who feel harassed by males who identify as transgender? Do the current EASD bathroom policies expose the district to potential lawsuits? This discussion needs to be had openly so the public can have confidence that EASD is safe for all children. I did include for the board an article related to that incident in Sun Prairie, which the school district did supply some of their comments in relation to that, but that's not an action or anything that they condone. Our rules and policies that we have in place would prevent that as well and disallow that and are in line with state statutes and laws accordingly.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wanted to speak? Go ahead. I've read the community participation statement before, so I think you're correct.
Okay, hi, my name is Melissa Bollinger. I spoke at the last school board meeting on May 8th. I noticed at the beginning of the meeting, which included the community participation portion, wasn't recorded or included on the school board video, but I feel that this is an important issue that needs to be heard. I just want to make sure, is it being recorded? It's not
being recorded.
Okay. All right, again, I want to express my gratitude to the school board. You have taken on such an important role for our children and our community, and I'm so grateful for the time and effort that each of you devote to the students, staff, and families of the Elkhorn Area School District. Thank you. For full transparency, I want to express my concerns that I have emailed regarding the curriculum. I'm concerned to hear that the school board is not approving curriculum, which district policy and state statutes require. Wisconsin DPI says that while standards provide the goals for learning, curriculum is a day-to-day activity that helps a student meet those goals. Curriculum, which should be thought of as the student's overall classroom experience, is affected by lesson plans, classroom assessments, textbooks, and more. In Wisconsin, curriculum is developed and approved by local school boards to meet their local needs. State Statute 120.12, paragraph 2, states that one of the school board duties is general supervision. School board members should visit and examine the schools of the school district, advise the school teachers and administrative staff regarding the instruction, government, and progress of the pupils, and exercise general supervision over such schools. Paragraph 14 states that another school board duty is to determine the school course of study. Policy 331 states that the Elkhorn Area School District's curriculum, instruction, assessment practices are approved by the Elkhorn Area Board of Education. All district staff will teach the board approved curriculum. Why is this not being done? I'm concerned that it's very difficult to see exactly what my children are learning in the classroom. Again, District Policy 331 states that these curriculums can be found in school building libraries and the district office. Mr. Talbot has stated that the practice of housing the curriculum in the district office and the library is no longer needed as we have transitioned to a digital format. However, technically it can be located in both locations via a computer, so we are still in compliance with this outdated policy. There's just no need to go there to look at binders. This advance in technology should make it easier for myself and other parents to view what their children are learning without even having to go to the school libraries or the district office. However, in my experience, when I'm looking through unit plans that I've requested, learning maps, or newsletters, I'm unable to open many of the links. I get a notification that I do not have access and that I need to request access or switch to an account with access. When I do this, the teacher or someone with access to the link receives an email with my request. I wait to get the email with access to the link. Then I have to go back and find which lesson the link belongs to. Sometimes I never receive the link. This process is very frustrating and impractical for me to be able to see what my child is learning. It most likely isn't anything that is trying to be hidden from me or other parents, but it definitely sets off red flags every time. State Statute 118.01 states in paragraph 1 that parents and guardians of pupils enrolled in the school district share with the state and school board the responsibility for pupils meeting the goals and expectations under sub 2, which goes into details about the educational goals of academic skills and knowledge, vocational skills, citizenship, and personal development. If parents are not able to easily access what their children are learning, how can this happen? 2 weeks ago, I handed out the printed copies of the district policies, state statutes, and DPI definitions regarding these issues. If you need another copy, please let me know and I'll be happy to send them to you. Thank you.
Per district policy, we are not allowed to respond to public comment, as it's not something that's on the agenda. Okay, so our first item on the agenda is the overnight travel request from the band department.
Hello, my name is Sarah Wicke, and I am the high school band instructor here at Elkhorn High School. I'm here tonight to ask for your permission to take the high school symphonic band and wind ensemble students to Florida for a Disney Performing Arts tour. The dates we're hoping to travel are February 14th to February 19th, 2024. And the reason that I would like to host this trip is to provide students with unique, authentic, real-world music experiences. In high school music classes, the students work on developing advanced skills so they can produce music to share with audiences. It is especially motivating and exciting when we can perform in venues outside of our school. So we do perform for a number of things here in Elkhorn, such as the Rotary Pancake Breakfast, Memorial Day Parade and Ceremony, Veterans Day Ceremony, Holiday Parade. We've done UW-Madison Band Day in the past, pep band for the Elkhorn events, and more. Performing in a high-profile Disney World parade in front of thousands of people from around the world is often the highlight of many of our students' musical experiences throughout high school from when we've gone in past years. So I hope you've all received a copy of the document that is on board at the moment that I sent in. I'm going to highlight a few of the learning objectives and just kind of talk a little bit more about those music-specific experiences. So as you can see for the learning objectives and on page 1, students will march in a high-profile parade in front of thousands of people, demonstrating excellent marching posture and formation, as well as musical expression. Number 2, students will analyze, demonstrate, and explain the responsibilities, practice habits, and work ethic needed by professional studio musicians and will adapt these practices into their own ensemble playing. Number 3, students will engage in an authentic studio recording session and produce their own animated music scene. And number 4, students will describe and experience for themselves how professional conductors and ensembles record music for animated cartoons. The numbers 2, 3, and 4 all go with the Your Instrumental workshop that we have done when we've been there in the past, which is a really neat experience where the Disney clinicians work with them on what it takes to be a studio musician for Disney. When we've done the marching in the parade down through Magic Kingdom, to prepare for that, we work on our skills of marching style while playing a high energy piece from memory. We practice in our agility center during the winter, which is nice now that we have that we can practice during the winter, and then in the fall practicing outside. And there's a picture from the last time we were there with the group that was able to go.
When was the last time?
2020, like 2 weeks before everything got shut down. I started everything there, and then a few weeks later, everything changed. But we were very fortunate to be able to do that. Let's see. So I talked a little bit about that workshop. Just to go into a little bit more detail, the clinician chooses a couple of pieces that they sight read, and then the clinician will choose 1 or 2 to work on that best suit our ability level. And they'll record a segment of the band playing, and then play it back for them and say, what would you have done differently if you knew you were being recorded? And they talk about how as professionals, they have to bring that same focus and responsibility and energy every single day they play. So that's usually a really powerful element of the workshop. And then it leads into discussion and work time with the students about getting some music ready. And then the conductor shows how, like, what they see on a screen, and how when they're conducting, they have a headphones with the click track, and they're trying to make everything line up with what they're supposed to be seeing on screen. And so then in the end, the students will record something, and then they line it up with an animation scene and allow us to keep a digital copy. So I said, for example, like if there's a music line that accompanies Tarzan swinging through the trees, and if we don't stop on time, that landing for him isn't there. And so like they talk about how important it is to be very precise as musicians and work on that. And so then just to conclude, I've included in there for you just some information about like the cost and fundraisers that we do. We do our fair parking every year. The cost did go up this year from what it was last time, and I was all startled to see that. So we are going to be working on finding some other fundraisers that we might be able to do, possibly partnering with businesses like Culver's, or doing the Rotary Pancake Breakfast that we've done the last couple of years to help earn some more money toward that. But we are usually able to take a couple $100s off of every student's fee from our parking fundraiser. Excuse me. And they will miss one full day of school because we also are building it over a weekend that has a day off and an in-service day. And then possibly that last class on Tuesday, the 14th, just so we can get on the road in time to get down there that first day. Because the first day they'll go to see Medieval Times, do dinner and a show. Blue Man Group was no longer available. That's what we had done the last time. And Cirque du Soleil we've done in the past. It's very expensive. So I was looking for a different alternative for that this time around. And I always look for some parents or grandparents or guardians that would be willing to chaperone. And in the past, when I've done this, I've always been able to bring 9 to 10 chaperones in addition to myself. And then we also typically bring one other music staff from the district. So this is what chaperone duties. Are there any questions?
Rotary is partnering with Big Brothers Big Sisters to bring, is it called Stir It Up?
It used to be. That was what we used to have,
Fundraiser
Stir It Up.
like that.
Yes, and that was a big thing for us.
So
We
that will be in
played
the
in that.
fall again this year.
Oh, they are doing the Stir It Up this year? Okay. So I had asked Mr. Anzalone about pancake breakfast, which he said was a go. I had not heard that Stir It Up was back.
Yeah.
So that would be fantastic if we were able to partner with that again.
Any questions from the board regarding the trip?
I think I know the answer to this question, but
Mhm.
why not fly?
So I did ask the tour company that I had put together the proposal. I said, what's the cost similarity? She did not show me the cost, but she said that because we end up shipping instruments and
Right.
the people, and then you still have to get buses when you're down there to get around.
Yeah.
So she said it really doesn't end up being, it'll be either more expensive or,
Sure.
so.
I was looking at the picture with all the drums and whatnot.
Yes, and 2 sousaphones, and yeah, we have lots of things. Sousaphone, right? Yeah. It's good.
How much of a student is this from the past?
From the past, so last time we went, it was $1,000 per student, and then we were able to take about $200 off again from our parking. So it went up a lot, and my company tells me that is mostly due to the bus company increases, and she bids it out to a few, and then Disney being up, as
Yeah.
Disney always does.
Yeah.
So those were the main reasons it went up. And like I said, so I was trying to trim it down by doing Medieval Times instead of a fancier show like Cirque. We could also take that out and just have some walk around downtown Disney, or Disney Springs, I guess is what it's called now. That would be another option to save just a little bit. Yeah. Those are what I can
Have you ever had any students that wanted to go but couldn't because of finances?
Probably if they did, they didn't necessarily share with me. I have had some, I think this was quite a while ago, that had asked about getting some assistance, but were able to put some forth. And I think I worked with the counseling department. That was on my first one several years ago.
Yeah, that was when Spencer went.
Yeah, but if there's others that maybe are and haven't
Yeah,
approached me about it, because it's just so much.
yeah.
I'm definitely open to more ways to keep subsidizing that.
So if you do have students that are like, I can't go because my family can't afford to do this,
Mhm.
how are you handling that? Are there Are you reaching out in other ways to see if we can get that student's cost covered?
So I would probably start by talking to administration and student services and see what ideas they might have and kind of, or can point me in the right direction of where to go. Yeah, sponsorships, if businesses would be willing to sponsor,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
the
don't know.
one that comes to mind immediately to me would be Dead Cells.
or Breaker.
It's
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be worth looking into for sure. I haven't done that in the
I would
past,
just
but I
hate to
certainly
see
could.
a student not be able to go.
I know, that's why when she told me the price this year, oh my goodness, it's a lot more. But I know it's been quite a tradition, and the kids, they look forward to it, and they ask me, when is the next Disney trip? Well, hopefully, I
Yeah,
would say hopefully, but
yeah, please reach out
yeah,
if that happens.
okay, I certainly will.
Any other questions? If not, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the overnight travel request.
Since I've had two kids talking about this since 2020, I move to approve the overnight travel request for the EAHS band department as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the overnight travel request from the EAHS band department. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles.
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thank you
very
very
You're
much.
Good to go.
Okay, we have the middle school student presentation next.
All right, Ryan McBurney, principal at the middle school. I will introduce my, our other guests here in just a second. I want to start by saying one of our goals kind of as a leadership team for the school this year was to, now that things were opened up more and there are more opportunities available, is really kind of get a grade level experience for each of our grade levels that dove more into the career readiness and employability and things like that. So, you want me to just, I can.
Sorry.
So earlier this year, we had 7th and 8th grade students attend the Experience the Trades Expo in Waukesha County, which was cool. And I had to look at that. That wasn't there, but look at that handsome man. There was just totally coincidence.
For the public record, that's Mrs. Ingersoll.
So they went and they experienced that. And then later, again, for our 7th and 8th grade students, we had a manufacturing inspiration day on the books that got snowed out and didn't get rescheduled. And it ended right at like a trimester too. So unfortunately that didn't happen this year, but that left 6th grade. So what was going to be kind of that anchor experience for them. So in working with Ms. Rimey and Mr. Trotter, we had started looking into something called BizTown, which is up in Milwaukee, and that was the kind of anchor experience that we chose for the 6th grade to go to this year, with the help of the Education Foundation as well, making sure that we all got there and had our registration and all that jazz. So it didn't end up being any cost to the students like other field trips, and it was a field trip unlike any other, and we wanted to share that experience with you. So with that, you're going to hear from Ms. Rimey, who really was our point person at the middle school on this, and then you're going to also hear from Leon Simonson and Jocelyn Poldermacher and Wade Hartman as well. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Rimey.
All right. So I was heavily involved at the beginning of kind of before we go on this trip. The curriculum that Junior Achievement provides us is approximately 12 and then a possibility of 17 extension lessons. Our teachers did this during their win time during our day. Each teacher had 1 to 2 businesses, everything from like Citizens Bank, US Bank, to Komatsu, Loop Tech, Harley Davidson, and a student favorite, Culver's. And the curriculum really viewed in 2 different ways. Everything from business management skills to personal finance to soft skills that I think we would agree are pretty important skills. So our teachers worked together, going through job applications that the students filled out after about a week of lessons, learning about what BizTown is and some of those skills. They filled out an application of jobs that they would be interested in. The teachers then stayed after one night and we put students into those roles. It's a community simulation when you get there, about a 5-hour simulation. You walk in, it literally looks like a small town. So we were prepping our students with everything from how do you fill out your register? How do you endorse a checkbook? To how do you run a staff meeting at Komatsu? Or how do you talk to your employer who is socializing over at Culver's, but they're late to their staff meeting? Or it's lunchtime, we have a long line at Culver's. How do we speak to our customers, letting them know that we're running a little bit behind, but we still want them to be loyal customers? So it was an opportunity when we look at the different things in manufacturing that we've tried to expose our middle school students to. Also our outdoor classroom that we have where students are becoming more involved and realize how important that is for middle schoolers. But it's also important that they get to lead. You can kind of see a picture here. That's City Hall. Mrs. Mayor was in charge there. And we have town hall meetings. So these are students that are seated and listening to their mayor. Students learned the importance of voting and registering to vote. And a big portion of this was learning the difference between your responsibility to your community and your community's responsibility to you. So they learned about how they have to pay taxes and a percentage gets taken out of their income, which was always a sad moment for the class. But also about how they can give back. We talked about a school board being that way that you can help give back to your community, but also lead your community. And then as we got to BizTown, this was probably the most powerful thing. We were gearing up. These lessons were intense. The students were working very hard. They each had their own checkbook, voter registration. They had a loan application, a promissory note that they had to bring for their business. So it was a true simulation. But when we got there, the teachers had to be pretty hands off. We were all designated to a particular business, but our students had to lead the business. They had tasks depending on their job. We had someone that was changing out the filters and checking the air quality in each of the rooms, to someone delivering the mail. So everything was thought of. Our mayor hired a police officer. There was a heavy fine if you walked on the grass. So a lot of different things, but the cool thing for the teachers was it really was an inquiry-based situation where the students were in charge. The students were problem solving. Someone lost their debit card. We didn't really help them. They had to figure out, I've got to go to the bank right away and let them know I lost my debit card. And that kind of role. So our prep was intensive. It was fun. I think even our staff enjoyed getting into the imaginative play of BizTown. But I think hearing from our students now will give you a good opportunity to
So there, as Mr. Ryan said, there was a town meeting at the start and the end. And those videos are on here if you want to look at them later. We don't need to go through them now. So to start, we're going to hear from Liana, who was the mayor at BizTown on day 2. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what it meant to be mayor?
So I was answering questions that the citizens had. I ran community activities like going around to everyone and taking census. There were a few times where, so before I left, I would clean my desk because it was an absolute disaster. And I would come back and there'd be a stack of papers for me to do something with. Just complete sensory overload. I learned a lot of responsibility, and no matter what job you have, teamwork is absolutely crucial. It's like, as Miss Rainey said, they were just there to like supervise. We're running everything. My favorite part was having responsibility and interacting with everyone. It was fun to talk to everyone and see what they had to say.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from Wade, who was, tell us what you were with.
The bank CEO,
What bank?
the US Bank.
Thanks.
So my role was to like execute the obligations of a bank CEO. So I oversaw the banking affairs and like made purchases as a consumer. And what I learned how hard it is to actually be an adult, and also how fun it is to like buy things and to be a consumer, and how economy and business work. And my favorite part is buying things with the money that I'd earned myself. It gave me a sense of accomplishment.
So once at the start of the simulation, after they completed all of their paperwork and like their W-2s and things like that, all that was taken care of and their employment was verified, they received their first paycheck. And that went in the bank. And then about halfway through, right before lunch or right after lunch, they received their second paycheck. And then they got to spend it in the afternoon, which I bought like some whoopee cushions.
Lots of
It's like outside, money well spent.
Yeah. So they did, there was a lot of excitement and buzz around paycheck time, which who can't blame them, right? So thank you, Wade. And finally, we have Jocelyn. Tell us about what you did.
I was a chemist at LeakTech, and my responsibility was making hand sanitizer for all the CEOs. And I had to collect what like flavor and color they wanted to make, like what they wanted. And what I learned, having a job is not as easy as it looks. There is a lot of responsibility in having a job that like there might be things you don't want to do. My favorite part was when we got to go shopping at the end because it was super fun, like real life, and you got to see what everybody else was doing.
All right. So, and then the honest closing speech is on here if you want to take a look at that later. And one of the key things to making this a successful experience was the volunteers that we brought with us. So we obviously had the teachers and other school staff members. You can go to the next slide. And we needed some people from local businesses and parents and things like that who came along as well. And I sent them a quick survey at the end just to kind of get their feedback on the day. And a lot of the same themes came out with that. The kids really being on their own, but in a good way in terms of learning to interact with each other and work together. And how does that all work? So it was really the day of experience certainly built on the learning from the classroom, which focused on that financial literacy and economy type aspects, but the soft skills, the employability skills were really on practice the day of, which was good because that's not always an opportunity that you can create, within the classroom on that day-to-day basis. The best quote of the day, though, on my day two, was I overheard a kid say, I thought this was going to be like really long and boring, but like we've been so busy the whole time. So translation, it was a really good field trip. That's what the sixth grader meant. So yeah, it was a really fun and beneficial experience to all the kids. There's a lot of hype and energy behind it, doing the things ahead of time, and everyone was great while they were there, no matter what job it was, right? Working the culverts, we're changing the air filter, all the way to running the bank and running the town. Everyone had a job, and it was a really cool experience that we hope we get to do again. So with that, what questions do you have for our?
Oh, so many questions. Anna, did you get voted in or just get given the job?
So
Like I get it if you got given the job. You did a great job.
I was in like one of my last hours and I got called down to my social studies teacher's room. And Miss Riley was there with a few of my other teachers. And they were like, congratulations, we elected you in as the mayor. And like, obviously at first I was like, what? But they picked some of the students were upset because they didn't get to do the election and they didn't get to vote, but the teachers picked.
Okay. Did you guys have to pay any bills or anything while you guys were there, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty terrible, right? You guys have a lot of fun?
Best field trip I've ever been.
Best ever?
It was way more fun than I expected. I was expecting it was like very boring. I feel like a lot of kids were uneasy about it and were like,
Do we have to
It's
go
gonna be
again? Yeah.
we have to do work like the grown-ups do. Yeah.
You have a better understanding of what we have to go through as parents now? Okay. Making sure. Send all my kids there at least twice a week. All I know.
So Mr. McBurney, was this, so when our kids went, it was just our kids doing the experience, correct?
Yeah, so we had to split it over 2 days. So the gold team went one day, the Trailblazer
Got
team
it.
went the other day, and the whole place was ours.
Got
So, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to.
I know, right? Yes. Okay, next is the overnight travel request from the agriculture department.
Hello, my name is Bailey Hart, and I am one of our agricultural educators and FFA advisors at the Elkhorn Area High School. And so tonight we are seeking approval of an overnight trip that will take place during spring break of 2024. So March 22nd through the 31st to Southern Italy. We're looking to take agriculture abroad and give our students a unique experience that I don't believe has happened for at least our department, you know, so very, very unique time. So our goal of this trip is to expose students to and learn about agricultural concepts in different parts of the world. This particular trip will focus on food science and food production, which are huge components of the agricultural industry and employs 21.1 million people. One of our missions within the agriculture department at EAHS is global industry, global solutions. By offering a trip like this, we are taking active steps to making that mission a reality for our students. They will get to see and experience the global industry of agriculture while also considering the global solutions and impact on the world. Lessons like these cannot always be found within the four walls of our classroom, but they must be lived. What I have provided in the item that I had sent in was a little bit more about different dates, costs, transportation options, and items like insurance and stuff, several coverages like that, as well as chaperone information. And I just want to take a couple minutes to explain like where the agricultural piece of this comes in. The tour itself is called the Cuisine and Culture Tour of Southern Italy. And some of the things that we'll do while we're there are we will go to an olive tree farm where they're growing and producing olives for olive oil. We will experience a chocolate factory where they will get to try and see how different chocolates and those types of treats are made. And then we'll also spend time at a farm where they're raising, they call them Italian buffalo. They look like cows, but they call them buffalo. So I'm interested to know more about that. And then they make their own mozzarella cheese. So that's the product that they're participating in and making there. There's also other food related tours as we walk through like Rome and other cities that we'll be there to visit. And then the other side of this is just the cultural experience, you know, the lived experience of going elsewhere and seeing those things firsthand and just being in a different part of the world and taking in what that has to offer. So I want to talk a little bit to you about the dates. So what, hold on, let me back up. We're using EF Tours, Education First Tours, as our tour consultants and helping us through this process. This is who they have these pre-designed, and we've been working with a travel agent to do that. So when we looked at the dates, we were looking at a spring break tour, because what happens for a lot of our students is during the summer, they have other commitments such as jobs on the farm, or on farm chores or other related things that are going on for them. So we felt like spring break was a better time to take that. But with Education First, something that they do is what they call their flexible travel dates. So we've requested so that we land during spring break so that we don't have to miss instructional time at school. However, they ask us to block from March 20th, which could potentially be the earliest date that we leave, through April 2nd, which could be like our latest arrival home. And we'll know that 2 to 3 months ahead of actually going. So I'll be sure to, make that known. But when they do that, it's to help with like any sort of flights or lodging or other tours that are going based on our number of people that we get to go with our group. So I just wanted to take a second and explain that. For transportation, we're choosing to fly from Chicago because we found that it was $200 cheaper per student for that flight to go from there rather than Milwaukee, even though Milwaukee's a little closer. And we are going to explore potentially taking a bus from the Elkhorn area to Chicago if that's feasible to do that. And then let's see, other things will be chaperones. EF requires 1 adult chaperone for every 6 paying travelers. So depending on how many students that we have interested in this trip and, do decide to enroll, we will accommodate that and follow that policy.
For board policy, we'd need to have a minimum of 2 chaperones.
Okay. Yep.
So either 12 students or a paying one. And
Yep. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Yes, that is correct. So, okay. I will touch on for a second what we can talk about the cost. I know if we are looking through this, that might be a bit of a sticker shock. It has a price tag for a student of $4,259. We know that that is a large sum. A couple of things that I do want to mention that it includes is both flights there. And actually, there's also one more flight from when we're in Bari. When we go back to Rome, there's like a 1-hour connection back there. So there's 3 total flights in this tour, 2 meals per day, all of our lodging in the different cities. And we're staying in hotels, nice, good hotels. And then also 24/7 access to our tour guide to help us with that, who does also happen to be bilingual to help accommodate with some of those shifts as we go abroad. And then I also mentioned that it has $190 worth of the global travel protection insurance, which is later noted on the second page, what that means. So with all of that, I just, does anyone have any questions for me that I can help answer?
I do. I have a question. So on the chaperones, we're saying chaperones here, it says chaperones will attend free of charge. It's a $109 protection fee. Up above it says per adult is $4,919. I'm assuming the chaperones are not included in that adult portion right there?
Well, correct. So like if I listed it. So some tours when they go, they open it up so that adults parents could travel with their students, or some groups even do like community members can come in and participate. So that's what that $4,900 price is.
Gotcha.
With the chaperone price, because it is a requirement of the company that we're using, they don't have those required chaperones, because they require the chaperones, they don't ask you to pay that other than the trip insurance to just cover us as travelers and then also with themselves.
So how do the chaperones,
It's incorporated.
it's incorporated in the amount of-
Yes.
So to give a little, because it's been a while since we've had this pre-COVID, last time we had an EF trip. But we have used EF for Costa Rica and I believe trips to Spain in the past. And they're a very reputable company, but they do build in order to get chaperones to even be able to facilitate the opportunity for kids. And again, this is completely voluntary if they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's dependent upon having enough students that want to go and are able to go to do that. I know EF will also set up payment plans where they'll start and they can start doing those payments ahead of time. And or we've even done it in the past via Class Community where they would submit that and then pay that avenue. But
Sorry.
yeah, but I believe they have a payment plan and so forth set up.
They do, and they have their own like fundraising page as well. So every student that enrolls automatically gets a fundraising page that they can share with family members or, out to the community if they'd like to do some of that individual fundraising as well. And then the EF also offers scholarships through that the students can apply for if that's something that if they're, really wanting to go, that is something they can apply for.
I think we saw that with the Disney trip as well, that it looks like, just comparatively speaking, it looks like travel costs are up about 25% from when we've had groups go before. And that's probably accurate across the board. I know just the flight costs right now are.
How many people normally go on this trip?
Probably they haven't done this trip
I've
before.
never done this trip before. I had kind of a goal of 30, which I thought was maybe a bit optimistic. Like it's a big number. I know that, but I don't know that we're going to get that. I like to set my goals high. So that's just a little about me, but so I don't know what that's actually going to.
So we've had, Brian, you guys go back, and for like the German exchange trips and so we'd have 20 plus students on those, right? And over to Russia, when we used to have that partnership up, there would be significant groups that would go and participate.
So Bailey, on the dates, I understand the flexible date
Sure.
thing, but is it still going to be a 10-day trip? So if you have to leave on the 20th, you come home.
That's a great question. Yes. So
Okay.
it will still be a 10-day trip regardless. So if we
Okay.
have a March 20th leave date, we will just return. So it would be
Early.
sooner than that 31st
Got
that
it.
I had mentioned.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, thank you for asking me to clarify. 'Cause,
Yeah,
that's
only
important.
because, there's additional expenses with.
Right.
additional
No, we don't get
days.
an extra vacation. No.
Well, I just meant, it
Yeah.
could potentially cost more if you had to stay 14 days.
Correct. No.
Yeah.
It would just be if we are able to leave a little bit earlier, then we would still do 10 days. Or if we have to like move back our date and then we could return up to. the
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. There are no more questions. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the overnight travel request from the HS Agriculture Department as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the overnight travel request from the EAHS Agriculture Department. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles,
Yes.
and Mr. Scarrow.
Yes. Go get the 30.
Good job
Thank you
presenting.
so much. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is the appointment of this CISA number 2 delegate.
Yeah, originally in the board notes, I think there was a typo there that got corrected. I believe.
Essentially.
Just quick to point that out, or.
Yeah.
It
I
might have
just
said
got a lot
yes.
of email today.
See that it was Julia.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
so this was similar to the committee assignments and I think Devin and Julia had expressed interest there. And so Matt had put Devin down to serve as the CISA 2 delegate. It does require a formal nomination or appointment by the board.
Yeah, so would somebody like
I'll
to?
move to appoint Devin Gavin as request. Yes, number
CISA?
2 delegate as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Devin Gatton as the CISA 2 delegate. Roll call vote, please.
Oh, 1 second. I'm sorry. I got off on.
That's okay.
You're looking at the Italy trip right now, aren't you, Jason?
I was thinking of the tour of Italy. That's probably as close as I'll get.
Well, I'm thinking,
Food tour in Italy. Can I chaperone?
I was just gonna say, I'm thinking I might want to. That's on my bucket list.
I'm just gonna leave the wife at home, let her handle that. I know she's listening right now too.
Oh, yeah. I was the first on this one.
Mr. Scarrow and Mrs. Reckley's.
No.
No, that's-
Oh, you're right. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, that was the last one she got.
All right, I'm back on track.
Mr.
Mr. Andre,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles,
Yes.
and Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, next is the school board minute approval. We do have the closed session minutes that I passed out before the meeting. There are two sets of closed minutes attached to that because at the last meeting, I failed to see that they were considered. So if you will do the closed session minute approval first. And if you do not have anything that you, any reason why you would need to not approve either one of them, then it can be entertained in one motion for both sessions, both of the closed sessions.
So you do the one motion for the closed
Yep.
session from April
And then a
24th,
different
and then
motion.
one for the open and closed.
Yes.
Oh, so I move to approve the closed session minutes from April 24th, 2023 as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the closed session minutes from April 24th, 2023. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles,
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
And then a motion for the May 8th, regular and closed session minutes.
You make a motion to accept the minutes in open and closed session for the May 8th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular and closed session minutes from May 8th, 2023. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre?
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles,
Yes.
and Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
General and other fund bills. Mr. Truman is not here tonight, but you all had an opportunity to email today and ask questions. I know I did, and Mr. Truman was very quick to respond, so I appreciate that, even though he's out of town. Any questions?
I
that you
did,
wanted
but
to-
I actually asked Jason and
You-
Bill if I could
I sent
ask them a later date because Bill wasn't here.
Okay.
So I
Okay,
reserve the right to ask this week.
okay. So, looking for a motion to approve them.
I move to approve the general and other fund bills of May 22nd, 2023. Check numbers 149302 to 149407. Wire numbers 982 to 1000. ACH numbers 705 to 730. And voided check number 149251 in the combined amount of $632,248.77 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the general and other fund bills of May 22nd, 2023. Check numbers 149302 to 149407. Wire numbers 982 to 1000. ACH numbers 705 to 730 and voided check number 149251 in the combined amount of $632,248.77. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre,
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart,
Yes.
Mr. Gatton,
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles,
Yes.
and Mr. Scarrow.
Yes.
Okay, director's report.
Hi, Sarah Bosch, School Director of Instruction. And Jason, do you mind if I drive?
Go ahead.
I tried.
I have control issues. All right, so if you remember the last time we were here to talk about academic and career planning, it was in March of last school year.
And we said that we would come back and we would talk about the e-portfolio process that we were going to put into place, and then also the presentations that we were going to have our seniors conduct. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight, but I wanted to provide a little bit of context, especially for the new school board members who didn't have an opportunity to hear that presentation first time. So I'm going to be really fast because Mr. Schaaf has a band concert to get to. And so anyway, yes. So real quick, what is academic and career planning? Academic and career planning is an opportunity for us to really build students' knowledge and their awareness and provide experiences for them to build their own unique vision for their own post-secondary success. So with that, we want to do this because we want to make sure that we give students an opportunity to really dig in and figure out who they are, what are their interests, what are their strengths, and then building upon that, figuring out where they're going with that post-secondary path. What are the careers that are out there, the awareness of those, the exploration of those, much like what you saw here tonight with our middle school students. And then helping them to navigate, okay, I figured out what this career path is that I want. How do I navigate to get there? Because it's complicated in some situations. Some people don't have background information about how to do these things. So we want to provide them with the opportunity to know how to do that. So at the middle school and at the high school, we dedicate time for ACP. I'm going to slow down because I'm really trying to go fast. Get up. So at the middle school, we conduct lessons during the 4 core classes, and we do that twice per year, so that's 8 lessons on ACP. And at the high school, we carve out time on Tuesdays for 30 minutes during SST time. You might have heard of it, student success time. All right, ACP is just best practice, but it's also a requirement by the state. It was put in place as a requirement in the 17-18 school year. The DPI did give us flexibility with how we design our program and how we kind of roll out our program. They also gave us a tool to use to roll out our ACP requirements called Zello. You might have heard of that also with your students. There's choice in the software, and I say choice-ish because the state reimburses us to use Zello, but if we don't use Zello when we pick something else, they're not reimbursing us for that. So it's kind of a little catch that I have for us.
Just a real quick recognition, because I know our high school guidance team was a part of how many original schools were in that pilot program. 20. So we were one of only 20 school districts that were in the first wave of putting this into
In the
place.
state?
In the state.
In the state.
Okay. That was selected. So I said, guys, I apologize, school council. It's just. They didn't even notice.
I know they did. I know they did.
All right, go ahead.
So DPI put together these components that we look at, and these components are really like what are high quality ACP programs, and then from those components you really kind of build what your process and your products are going to be. If you take a look at some of these things, it really gets at what I was just talking about, figuring out who you are and the interests and your strengths, doing those career exploration activities. If you look at the academic preparation, that really aligns with Redefining Ready, which is one of our metrics that we use here to measure our effectiveness. So you can kind of see those pieces there. Now, our program doesn't all take place during SST. We do have certain things that are built into other classes. For example, like our resumes. We have resumes that happen where students are learning how to build resumes in lots of different classes. But we have to make sure that all kids are going to get that experience because not all kids take certain classes. So we selected PFL to be a class where all kids learn about resumes because every kid has to take that.
Personal financial literacy.
Thank you. Yes. Fun acronym day. Also, a good example of that is like our mock interviews. In English 11, our students get an opportunity to not only build a resume, but also go through mock interviews. but not every kid takes English 11. They might take AP Lit or they might take AP Lang. So we also build that into personal financial literacy as well. So with that being said, these components are then put into place, and we build our academic and career planning program. And then I handed this out last time, but I just wanted you to be able to reference it. If you look on the back, this is the entire program for grades 9 through 12. This is the process that we use. You'll see the different lessons put in place to hit those components. And then all culminating in this final product of an e-portfolio where the kids really get a chance to present their pathway that they've gone through high school and trying to figure out what is post-secondary success for them and saying along the line, I've done all these things. And here's what's led me to this place, basically. So with that quick introduction, we rolled into the school year with rolling out the e-portfolio process. And here was our implementation plan from last March to get the e-portfolios put into place for all of our students, but our seniors had to build the entire portfolio this year. Our goal was that 100% of the seniors completed their e-portfolio presentations. And with that, I would like to introduce our school counselors, Shannon Ruppelman and Brian Shaw.
Okay.
To share with us. Go ahead.
I'm here to ask the board for permission to be an adult chaperone.
Here's the and.
So, thank you. No, what's it? This is my good idea. So as Sarah said, the power of this is just icing on the cake. We've been doing this forever. I'm so happy that the middle school kids came tonight because it's a good example of the 1,000,001 things that this district does that is academic and career planning that helps kids learn about themselves, learn about the world of work, learn about their skills and aptitudes, more than any district I've ever known. And I'm thankful for that. Yet helping young people process that and connect the dots for them as individuals and then create an individualized plan is the challenge. And we've always recognized that. So to take it to the next level is having those experiences, but then also being able to process them in SST with every adult they encounter, because every minute of every day of their lives is career development, whether they know it or not. So all we're trying to do is help solidify that and, quite frankly, celebrate them. And that's what the portfolio presentation night was all about. And to help them almost do another practice interview, to be able to have a single package. Many of us have done interviews where we're presenting a portfolio of our experiences. And this gave them an opportunity to articulate it, not only for themselves, but to significant adults in their lives. So thank Sarah first and foremost for being an unyielding advocate and support for this process. And so thank you very much for that. And I mean that sincerely. Also personally, like I'm extroverted, if you didn't know, so I derive my energy from other people. So if the energy's moving one way, I tend to go that direction and so on. So a challenge for me in this whole process, if you've ever had the experience of doing something for the first time, it's never been, but even if you have the vision and you believe in it, you've done your research and your homework, and you're working hard to make it a success, you're still nervous as heck and scared. And it's in moments like that where Sarah really came through and helped bolster that, having people like Shannon around. Quite frankly, that I think it might have been your idea too, to just, we should have a site team. We should invite teachers to volunteer and help with this process. And we intentionally then did that, probably had 10 or 12. And so we scheduled time at each of our early in-services and got feedback from them. And quite frankly, when times where you get some naysayers, they're getting frustrated and angry, you have a teacher or two that, hey, I did this in another district, and this is how powerful it is. And it just helped kind of each other stay on board.
Yeah, just help the staff help one another know it was going to be okay and we could do this. And so that was really helpful.
So that was very, and then you'll just see in there,
The
focus.
timeline.
Then they also helped us like, remember, hey, you gotta worry about, early graduates. How are you gonna schedule them? What's that all the way up to and including, what's that night going to look like? What about kids that miss? And
Yep.
all that
How
stuff.
are we gonna get the kids who didn't do it?
Yeah, what challenges are you having, with your kids in your SST? And here's what I did with mine that was helpful. So, to me, this is, so long story short, and I never do that, sorry. This was the best first time experience that I could have ever dreamed of or hoped for. So it was a huge success in my life. And I hope, and that's what I see in these slides. So for example, at the end of trimester one of our worries along the way was, what if kids are just blowing it off? Well, another group to thank is our staff. They really care about, this, you see it every month, and only 5.5% of our kids, 52 kids, all
The whole
grades,
school.
didn't do their lessons in Zelda. So, wow, I don't know why, maybe it's, I didn't want to be negative going on, I thought they might. But then, we worked on them individually and got
Little
them up to
encouragement.
speed, little encouragement, little one-on-one at that point. And to try two. Okay, our kids, thank them. They took it seriously. They wanted to present and celebrate themselves and wanted a good product. We had 19 try one and try two early grads. And that's where things, the mood, the energy, at least for me,
Yeah.
started building, because I'm like, every single one of them was like, we had parents in tears, we had, I'm walking out, this is really cool. And they all followed through. We had kids going to DECA International. Yeah, no problem. We just schedule it early. We'll even help you out, and I'll show you a picture later. We had kids at a rugby and match, game.
Match.
Semifinals rescheduled, so.
And ahead of time.
And ahead
They
of
were
time,
very
right,
responsible.
yeah.
They came to us and said, we're gonna miss that portfolio night. So they went from early in the year kind of going, wait, we have to do this thing. Why are you making us do this year?
Yeah.
To coming to us and saying,
I've got a
okay,
good
I've got
product,
this.
I wanna
Yeah,
share it.
I want to share it. Yeah. So that was really nice to see.
And then came the night. And so again, thank you, Mr. Keel, for supporting this and saying, yeah, we're all in. Let's set it up. Make the building look nice, have our stations and all that stuff. 79% of the senior class showed up that night. And I think 60% of them had guests along with them. So 157 or 199. There was only 16 remaining after that night. We scheduled them then April 28th, May 1st, 2nd, 5th. Got them, and we got to 100%.
Nice.
And they were phenomenal. They were really. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a time.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This is
Excited about this. Because my energy just kept going and going and going. So those 4 DECA kids, this is Luke DuPont, one of our, DECA officers. They're going to internationals. Of course I will. Well, then we have meetings with our site team. It's like, those kids are so good. Maybe they could help us out by kind of marketing and advertising this to our younger kids. So we approached them and said, hey, we've got this freshman open house. Will you do your presentation for the parents that show up? Of course I will. Our kids are amazing. He gets up on stage and does his in front of how many people? 300 people. It was amazing. Doesn't do that. So that was beautiful. Couple other pictures. Go to the next one. We had so this just demonstrating that's Cody Christensen. But we have other staff who have kids in the senior class. So we were conscious of that. That's one of the things that came up in site team. It's like Shannon has a senior. Like, should we just make her work and miss her kid's thing? No. So we scheduled accordingly. We scheduled, him and then this is Jillian Howard. She was one. Again, kids have challenges, but boy, do they step up. She's like, I work till 7. Okay. Could you just sneak over afterwards? We got some time built in. She's like, she gets there in her uniform. She's like, I had 2 poop incidents right at the end of the night. She works at, she's like, she was good. It just stepped up. So
This was, we wanted to really make the night not just their presentation. They could have done their presentation in advisory or somewhere else, but we really wanted to make it a celebration of their 4 years and their journey. So they came in, there was a check-in table, kind of gave them the sheet that's what they were going to be assessed on, that they had met all the requirements of the portfolio. We had the TV displaying the spotlights that Nicole makes for the seniors, and project graduation had info. So it was kind of like they walked in and they kind of saw some fun stuff. And then they went into their presentations. The reviewer answered on this little half sheet, kind of checked that they had included everything. Their resume was on that presentation, their goals for after high school, kind of a summary of what they had done, just little check boxes, and wrote a little note. They took that back and went to the checkout table. And so as they checked out, we had this series of just little stations. On the little hearts, they left little notes to underclassmen that we'll use when we have the freshman day in the summer, little words of advice. A lot of them are get involved, join things, that kind of advice, good advice. We had a yard sign raffle because we had some left over. We found in the back storage room. So we had 88 of them or whatever. So we're like, put your name in for a raffle. So we raffled those off for free for them. We got them some class of 2023 grad pins, just like a little token to take with. And then Nicole set up a photo booth. So she took pictures of the families with a little template behind it, just to celebrate that night. We're kind of hoping that as it progresses, that the yard signs in the yard will be like that symbol to the community. Like all the seniors just did their presentations. Like you guys, people start to know that that's what we're doing. And it just becomes the like, oh, it's the end of the year for them, and they did that. So that was fun to walk them through all of that. And then the feedback.
These are linked, so we sent surveys after all of was said and done. And so there's student feedback and staff feedback there if you want to read their comments and how they evaluated the evening.
And then our next time. So these are the things we have in mind for as we move forward. Obviously we really, I mean, a lot of the students brought people, but having them invite more people, having board members come, go see them, business partners, just sit in on them. I think the presentations were phenomenal. And I don't even know how to explain it, but my favorite ones were for sure our students, the early grads who had different paths that they were taking, the kids who had just done a really good job of doing YAs and hands-on work. And that was their moment to shine, and just say, this is what I learned about myself and this is where I'm going. And so to have more people listen to that would be really cool. So I think that for sure is trying to get more people there.
The comments from staff.
Yeah.
We did schedule it on a Monday, so we won't do that.
Yeah.
That was our bad. It was the board meeting night, so.
But some of the feedback from staff, just like, I had no idea the depth and breadth of what that kid has accomplished at their young age.
Yeah.
Like, you walk away almost feeling a little bad about yourself.
Yeah.
How have you done what you've done by 17, 18 years old? I mean, it's amazing.
And I think building on that is our next one, is really helping the kids know that they can include other things. So that was really one of the things that you start to know about the students, is like other things they do in their lives and these other skills and talents they have. And that's just so cool to hear about. And so some of the kids didn't know they could include all that stuff. So we really need to work on letting them know, include all the stuff you do for 4-H, include all the stuff you do at church. We want to hear about that too. So adding some of that to our lesson. The question bank for the teachers, we had some teachers very, very comfortable interacting with the students as they presented. And they did a really good job. So using some of those teachers to help us build that strength in our reviewers so that they can just have those really good conversations. Again, we put the yard sign because we really want that to be just that symbol in the community that we did that. And then we are hearing from teachers on in-service day. We're going to get some more feedback from them and see what we need to change and modify. And then the other thing we want to add is we want to go back to adding some one-on-one conferencing, intentional every student with their school counselor. Right now they can come in anytime, but because we don't force it, it doesn't happen as often as we'd like it to. But we think that would really help build this process for the kids and help them just kind of embrace it a little bit more too. So I think it was great. I loved it. I would do it again. Yeah, the kids did great. What questions do you guys have?
So you said you started this in the 17, 18, or was it?
ACP in general.
ACP, this was just approved last year.
Yeah, okay,
When it
yeah,
was
got it.
renamed in this proposal.
Things like being a pilot district and changing over because the state was piloting using Zello. And
Okay,
so we got on
so it
board
wasn't
real
really
early.
implemented here until this current school year, the 22.
Just the portfolio.
Just the
Just
portfolio, just the
that's
last,
the only
yeah,
product.
the
Yeah.
final product was
Okay.
this, was new.
Okay.
Everything else has been in place, the lessons, the career exploration
Developing
and all of that.
curriculum in
Got it.
SST and all the career development
Okay.
lessons.
Okay,
But then the portfolio piece is the
got it.
Yeah.
icing now. So
Okay. So they spend, do they start working on this as freshmen?
Yep. So, it was for our seniors, they were panicking a little bit in September because they were like, we have to do 4 years in 1 year. And that wasn't true. We obviously modified it so that
Yeah.
it was 1 year worth of work for them. But still building on those career exploration stuff they had done in previous years. They just
Yeah.
had put it in an end product. So now we had it in an end product and we wanted it to be visual and they can bring it up on the screen and talk about themselves and what
Yeah.
they were interested in. But the, like the freshmen, all of those things that are about like getting to know themselves,
Yeah,
they were able to add some of those. So they started their templates.
Okay.
Is the best way to explain
Yeah.
it. So they're all of the students in the building have a template
got
with different varying levels of stuff in it.
Yep.
So the seniors are done. And
Got
so
it.
next year the juniors will add to it and build on it. So they had about, I want to say it was 10 SSTs
Mhm.
that they still about 5 hours worth of like a teacher working with them and then plus whatever if we pull them down.
Yeah. Okay, very cool.
Is there any flexibility in the guys' curriculum that you guys have here? The reason why I ask, so for example, in the 12th grade, you guys have dealing with FAFSA and financial aid and whatnot.
Yep.
In my experience dealing with kids, I mean, which unfortunately is way too many of them, 12th grade is almost too late to start working with that stuff. Specifically, if you have a student who's wanting to not take student loans out and they're wanting to save and self-finance or whatever they can. Because by the 12th grade, all of a sudden you're talking about a kid that no longer can have the
Yep.
time to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Is there any flexibility to be able to move
Yep.
that around?
So on our end, certainly that's more of a workshop, if you will, individual help actually filling out the FAFSA. As far as being conscious of the financial implications of higher education and preparing for those inevitables, we're continue to look for new ideas that really engage kids. But we've had all the way down to 4K, what was this, the Farm on the Farm or something. They do some parent engagement stuff. We've had Edward Jones representatives or some of our business financial partners come and have a booth set up and to talk about just what you're talking about.
And it's
is investing early,
Yeah.
even if it's a little bit,
Yeah.
makes a big difference 13 years from
Yep,
now.
yep.
So certainly we're conscious of it, but always looking for ideas to
Okay.
engage parents as early as possible.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome.
And I think I was just gonna say the other big powerful thing now that I'm most excited for moving forward, I think we all are, is now 100% of our adults in the building. It was almost like an aha moment for them. We've been dreaming of this for a while. Now they've all seen it and walked away with it. And already we're noticing the positives, like, because kids are coming out of the woodwork more than ever to have individual conversations about the finer points of these academic career plans. So from Start College Now, early college credit program, to the last couple of days, and some kids started on associate degrees, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
I would say that's one of the things that I'm noticing too, is the younger students in the building are seeing it as like, okay, what other opportunities can I pull from the district? Can I, take advantage of? Can I do, rather than sometimes they would come in and be like, okay, what do I have to take? You know what I mean? Like they'd
Yeah.
flip to thinking of it in terms of, I've got to like really be able to tell my story about what I, did here in high school. I'm going to do something. So it really,
Yeah.
it's starting to shift. In my office anyways, what I'm noticing is that they're
And I
like,
think because all
Yeah.
the, just
just the overall energy
the
is
whole
like,
building. 'Cause
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
adults, it's now not just my subject I'm teaching, it's, oh my gosh, we're preparing this,
Yeah.
each individual. Because there's
Been
a lot
good.
of work out there, and so. Anyway, sorry for talking.
I want to really compliment the school counselors and the team in working with this and making it come to fruition. I was admittedly nervous or hesitant in putting another requirement for, graduation. And you guys bent over backwards to work hard to make sure that 100% of the kids were able to meet.
It's not a requirement. Yeah. They just don't know that.
Yeah.
Graduation's a grade level requirement.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Go over ask.
Yep. Right now. See ya.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the personnel recommendations.
Yes, the personnel sheet is linked there, and we've been very busy on a lot of the hiring. You'll see there's a few resignations from different positions listed at the top. We want to thank them for their service. We have some internal transfers that are also listed there, and then a number of appointments on the professional staff. There is one that's stricken there because we had not finalized that position yet. We still do have open positions that we're working. We'll be in the hiring process up until school starts. Yeah, we always hope to have all the professional staff hiring done prior to new teacher orientation. And we usually get close.
Getting really close.
Any questions on any of these?
I didn't have anybody else. Okay, looking for a motion to approve the personnel recommendation sheet.
I'll move to approve the personal recommendation sheet for May 22nd, 2023, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening as presented.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the personnel recommendation sheet for May 22nd, 2023, including new employment contracts conditioned upon passing the background check and district mandated drug screening. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Andre?
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart?
Yes.
Mr. Gatton?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles?
Yes.
And Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
School gifts.
All right, we have a number of school gifts this evening. The Elkhorn Area Middle School PTO has donated 10 convertible benches / tables for the outdoor classroom, valued at $1,999.90. They don't have a convertible top, they just shifted
Yep.
positions, yeah.
Yep.
Connie Graves has donated $100 from the Snack and the Pack program. And the Green Bay Packers have donated an AED unit along with training by Bell & Health for usage and storage of the device, valued at $2,000. I submitted a request for that. That will go on the storage shed over by
Okay.
where rugby practices
That's
and
kind of what I was
football.
gonna ask. Is this specifically gonna be designated for athletic fields?
Yeah, so there's another one going over by the tennis courts. We have one on the concession stand. It's a long haul funds.
Yes.
Those rugby.
Yep.
Lacrosse, football location.
Yeah, otherwise you have to go all the way into the middle school or all the way back to the
Yep.
sessions.
So it'll go on that building out there.
Yeah, great. Need a motion to accept it.
I move to accept the generous school gifts as presented.
Second,
I second.
so moved and seconded to accept the general school gifts. And we want to thank the middle school PTO and Connie Graves and the Green Bay Packers for their generous gifts.
And I would just like to thank Jason Guerrero, who's an EMT and one of the coaches, is the one who saw the AED opportunity and forwarded me the information. So
Great,
thank you, Jason, for pointing that out.
yeah. Okay.
Mr. Andre?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
I forgot, we're doing a roll call vote. Sorry about that.
Mr. Andre?
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart?
Yes.
Mr. Gatton?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Reckles?
Yes.
And Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
Wonderful. Announcements.
All right, the policy committee meeting has been scheduled for June 6th at noon here at district office. CCA graduation is May 26th, 10 o'clock a.m. at the Grand Geneva If, it's a fun graduation to go to. I can't remember the name of the room. You can get that from the CCA, but it's at that main Grand Geneva building. It's the conference
Forum.
center, the forum.
Forum.
Thank you. Let's see, options graduation is May 31st at 5:00 PM. And the Elkhorn Area High School graduation is June 1st at 7 PM. You each should have ID card with a lanyard at your spot. You have, as district employees and board members, you also have access to utilizing the weight room if you'd like. There is a process or a tutorial that Katie Hoffman should be sending you an email out for that you go through Rec Desk for that orientation prior to utilizing that. So the ID cards will work like a little fob on their program. That is.
We should let Jody know if we're going to attend any of these so that in case there's a problem, she can.
Yeah, so she can post that, yeah.
I already signed up for the gym, by the way, so that was a really
Okay.
easy tutorial if anybody. The key that gets us into, what does that kind of give us access to as board
So
members?
the key cards will swipe into any door.
Okay.
But for policy and guidance, so if you're going to a location during the day, always check in at the front office so they know who's in the building. You still follow the same, that same process. Like I do the same thing as a superintendent. If I go over to the high school, I go in through the front office there. But if I'm like going over to the band concert, I might park in back and I swipe on that car door and go in. Yeah. For a facility use standpoint, we're still under the same guidance as any of the other community members. So for example, as much as I'd love to go swimming at 10 o'clock at night by myself, I can't, especially because it's on the front by the road and people would no, but the reality is you still use, like if you're wanting to go in and use the gym and so forth, you still go through the same community use aspects with Mr. Anzalone in that case and so forth. So we're still under that same guidance as, anybody else in the community.
Hey, Jason, I understand, I'm going to assume that the options graduation is going to be over options, but is that? what
It is at options, correct. Yeah, and it's a small graduation. I believe only 9 students, not because they only have 9 graduates, but most of them choose to just walk at the high school and not do the options graduation. So
Okay.
I know you have 199 seniors, but do you know how many are walking? Because it's really a district,
I don't know.
yes, district ceremony there. So most of the option students choose to walk it. But they have a nice little intimate graduation ceremony for the students there too. And they can do both. They can go to the CCA graduation, then walk at the high school one.
Jason, do you know what time we have to be at practice the day before?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock is when the kids will start coming.
Okay, so
So
Okay.
if you're there by at 9:45.
Oh, 9:45?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd say that by the time we get them out there and
Okay.
organize, it'll take 45 minutes.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks.
yeah. It's like a friendly boot camp, trying to get them in. To be ordered and lined up right and directed.
Always
Yes.
interesting.
Okay. We do have a closed session that we need to go to, so if somebody would like to
Move to the.
move to adjourn. The,
Yeah,
if you
which
look on the
group-
board agenda at the bottom,
Is it,
you can just kind of read that.
I move to adjourn the contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C to discuss performance of an employee.
Okay. Is there a second?
Who's got it?
Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Mr. Andre?
Yes.
Mr. Gayheart?
Yes.
Mr. Gatton?
Yes.
Mrs. Ingersoll?
Yes.
Mr. Scarrow?
Yes.
And Mrs. Reckley, sorry.
Yes.